What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first ever Q&A I've done here on this channel. Now, I've been making videos very incredibly sporadically since 2016. I've never done a Q&A on this channel. I figured, why not just do it now? You know, wrestling's a lot of fun right now. There's a lot of good things happening in wrestling. So I just thought, you know, let's open it up. I took it over to my Twitter, I took it over to my Instagram, and I fielded some questions from you lot, the lovely, wonderful, gorgeous viewers. I've got some questions in here, got some fun ones, got some ones about the current state of WWE, some fun ones about just general sort of big picture things, a couple of Cena ones in here. So, let's just get into it. Now, we're going to start this off with a question from Kevin, the wonderful Kevin Twist, a wonderful YouTuber talking a lot about Celtic and always has great content, so go and make sure to follow and subscribe to Kevin. But Kevin asked, do you think it was the right decision for Drew to cash in at Money in the Bank? And I think this is like a little bit of a double-edged sword for me. I think it was the best outcome for what we got. I don't necessarily think the Money in the Bank competitors necessarily loaned itself to anyone particularly interested in winning, on the men's side at least. I think SmackDown's tied up for a while. I don't really see a challenger to Cody emerging anytime soon. And I think with putting it on Priest and just kind of having him hold that and meander and be kind of not looked at and respected as a legitimate Mr. Money in the Bank, and he held it from July until April. I don't really see them running that story again, so it wasn't going to be any of the ones on SmackDown. And then when you look at Raw, Gable probably was the best bet, but realistically Gable has lost every big match this year. Gable has went 0-5 for the Intercontinental Championship this year, and I do think a big sort of character rehab is needed for Gable. I also think the Raw main event scene is very tied up with Priest, Punk, Drew and Seth for a while. At least that takes us through the summer. I think you need the character rehab for Gable, and I just kind of think without Finn in that match, who is realistically the only person on the men's roster that I thought had an interesting path to the title, I wasn't entirely enthused with whoever would win on the men's side. So I think Drew cashing in for Punk to ruin it for him. Yeah, that feud didn't really need it, but I don't know, I liked it. I think it now gives us more time to focus on Tiffany Stratton. We haven't had a women's Money in the Bank holder carry it for that long since, I don't think, Carmella. So I think if we now have the sole Money in the Bank briefcase holder be Tiffany Stratton, that puts more weight on her run with the briefcase as well, and it makes her eventual cash-in feel that little bit more esteemed and prestige. So like I say, I don't think it was the ideal choice. For me, the ideal choice was Finn Balor, and then the Judgment Day split happens then. But out of everyone that was in the match and with the tools we were given, I think it's probably the best option. This next question comes from my good friend Max, and it's very simple. Rey Mysterio, The Undertaker, Triple H, Shag, Marry, Kill. Kill The Undertaker. Just gotta. Probably Shag Triple H and marry Rey Mysterio. I think I can't be riding a Blue Lives Matter fella, and I know Triple H almost definitely probably is, but like he's not as upfront about it as Undertaker. So get Taker out of here. Probably could marry Triple H for the money, but no, going on my gut here. Shag and Triple H, marry Mysterio. We got a question here from Sean, very simple question. He asked for like a lovely header for this channel, new channel banner. Coming soon. Shout out Sean, give the boy a follow, and once again, it's not done yet at the time this video goes up, but a massive shout out to my boy for helping me get this channel looking nice and looking right. And now, as we kind of go back to the first question of the day, my good friend Robbie is asking, is the Drew Punk storyline beginning to become predictable and make Drew look silly? And I think yes and no. I don't necessarily think it makes Drew look silly. I think everything they're doing is furthering the story, even if it is just bit by bit. And I don't think it's going to make Drew look silly when he inevitably kills Punk. I think their first match should be Lesnar Cena SummerSlam. It should just be Claymore. Like, he should hit like 9 in a row. Like Punk shouldn't hit like 5 moves in that match, and I'm like dead serious. I don't think that match should be a competitive back and forth. I think the eventual blow off to their feud and the eventual final match that we get between the two definitely should. But I think right out the gate, Drew, when he finally gets his hands on him, when Punk is finally cleared, this hatred should have bubbled and it should have boiled, and it should have got to this point that he just kills him. And I understand where it kind of makes Drew look a bit silly and it's becoming predictable, but realistically you're having to book around the is it tricep injury he's got. Punk's got the torn tricep, so you've had to book around that for months. And yeah, you can have Punk off TV until he's getting closer and closer and closer to coming back, but having him on TV keeps the issue going, and it keeps reminding us that this is what we're building to, this Drew and Punk match. So I don't think it necessarily hurts either of them, provided that the match goes the right way. I think it's going to look really bad if the match comes and they go like 20 minutes, even if Drew wins, and it's going to look really bad if that match comes and Drew loses. I just think that for now, because we haven't hit the conclusion of the story, it all signs point to that Drew's going to kill him, so we just need to wait and see what happens if and when he does. Now, this story comes from a wonderful friend, Big Chicken, Big Rory Dunlop. He asks if myself, himself, and our good friend Johnny B. Grand, Johnny Kerwin, rest in peace, Canada does not deserve you, King, we're in a wrestling stable, what would our gimmick be, what would our music be, and what would our name be? Now, I don't have a name yet, but we would be Team Angle. We would be Team Angle with no ability. We would be the 3-man band, but we think we're Team Angle. We'd have the singlets, we'd walk out to what feels very Kurt Angle-y. We'd pay enough money to take his TNA theme, we'd do all this, we'd try and suplex people, it would never work, and that would be the gimmick. What would the name be? I don't know, because everything I say is going to be a dumb inside joke, and even then I can't think of any. But that would be the gimmick. We would dress like Team Angle. We would always get in fights over who's Kurt Angle, even though it would be me, because you two have been friends longer, so you two are the tag team. And also because of that time that we got drunk and wrestled and I took you to the ground and you grabbed my nipples and missed both. So I think I'm the Kurt Angle here. I also think I'm the most in danger of going bald. So I'm the Kurt Angle here. You two are Hassan Benjamin, and we would never win matches. Going over to Instagram then, my good friend Delta is asking what do I think of the Triple H era so far. And to be honest, I've been enjoying the Triple H era. I think there are some glaring issues, and I think we'll speak about one of the biggest issues with the next question. I've generally enjoyed the Triple H era. I think generally things feel more planned out and things feel more... I feel like there is a general plan of where things are going. I do think there have been some questionable decisions. Like I do think that it's not been perfect, but I think for the most part, the wrestlers seem to be having a lot more fun. The shows feel a lot less rigid. The complete overhaul in production is massive, and I think it's one of the things that is like really kind of hurting AEW at this point in time is the fact that WWE being like the only game in town for so long means that all wrestling promotions, for the most part in America, at least almost all in America at least, kind of copied that style of production, sort of like hard cam, quick cuts, kind of things like that. And now that we live in a world where Kevin Dunn is rotten and piss, Triple H is taking these big swings with production, and it makes the WWE production feel so different and so elevated. And AEW hasn't really pivoted to make any swings like that just yet, because they'll inevitably be met with the, oh, you're just doing this because WWE is changing how they produce shows criticism. So I'm a big fan of the changes in production. I think they are absolutely night and day. In terms of the on-screen product, it's been good. It has definitely been better. I think there is a bit of a case though when we talk about like his inability to get a lot of his boys over, but because he just kind of tries to thrust them into a situation without building them back up. You look at how long it took Gargano to get over and bringing DIY back, and obviously that was a big moment for them winning those tag titles, but for a very long time DIY kind of toiled and Gargano kind of toiled in like the doing nothing under Hunter, So I do think he needs to be a little bit more patient with his old original NXT guys. I think he needs to be sort of more understanding of things are changing and things are happening for a reason. I think he waits too long to pull the trigger on certain things. I think he still has NXT brain where he bank recorded a lot of things. Like you've seen Gable with the Creeds multiple times backstage and they've still not pulled the trigger on that. But then, I think, like I say, at the same time, we have things like the Wyatt Six, and he's letting people be a lot more creative. We have the Judgment Day storyline and how they've pivoted with Rhea's injury into what's happening with Liv. So I think generally it's good. It's obviously better than what we got before. It's not without its issues, but I have been enjoying it. I would say out of 10, I'm going to give the Hunter era like a good 7.75. As I mentioned with that question, moving on, we have another sort of thing about the Hunter era of WWE. This one comes from Ryan Fitzsimons, very good friend of the channel, and he asks, settle the online debate about the length of pay-per-view/PLEs. Is 5 matches enough? Should it be more? Let's exclude big shows like Mania, SummerSlam, All In, etc. Just standard monthly shows we're talking. And I think yes and no. I think a show like Money in the Bank having 5 matches, 3 hours, does not give that show time to breathe. I think both Money in the Bank matches went sub 20 and we got nearly half an hour for the 6-man. That's insane. I think, and I was speaking about this with my friend Cameron there the other night, I think if we do 12 big shows a year, 12 pay-per-views, 12 PLAs, whatever you want to call them a year, I really think we should kind of go 1 for 1 with 3 hours and then a sort of 4 to maybe 5, pushing 5 if you have a lot to get on there. I also think a lot can be said about the AEW pay-per-views kind of pushing towards 5 just to get everyone on the show with all the titles they have. That's good and that's fine, but you look at shows running longer in September in AEW, like an All In and an All Out, and they sort of feel better, definitely felt better last year because not every title got on each show. So that means you give the stories more room to breathe and you give the matches more room to breathe whilst you still have every champion defending on a pay-per-view. Like, there is definitely lessons that can be learned from the shorter, more truncated shows by AEW, and there's definitely some lessons that WWE can learn from the longer shows where things get time to breathe. I also think if you are going to do a 3-hour show, then don't have half of it be ads, because that's what Money in the Bank was. And I think, you know, the debate is people saying, oh, AEW just goes match into match into match into match into match. Yes, because you're paying the money for that. And I understand that AEW is not on a subscription service, so WWE are making less money from like a network and like a Peacock subscription, and they, you know, do need to put more ads in, and that's fine. But a lot of the ads are WWE branded ads, so it's not like they're making the money when they are like, oh, go to WWEshop.com for 3.5 minutes. They get their sponsorships on matches. The boys sponsored Money in the Bank. They have that Wheatley American Vodka sponsors a load of stuff. Like C4, like you have all these sponsors sponsoring specific matches. We don't need to see an hour and a half of ads. For me, I think 6 of the WWE pay-per-views a year should go that 4, maybe pushing 5 hour runtime. I think Rumble, Chamber, Mania, obviously, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, and like, I know it's technically a big 4 pay-per-view, but I don't really care about Survivor Series, so I'm not that arsed about it going long. And you've got War Games, so give them time to breathe. And then the other 6 on the year, so that would be like your things like your Backlash and your Bad Blood and your Paybacks and your No Mercies and your things like that. The sort of B tier shows, yeah, give them 3 hours, and then that way they don't feel so long. But when it's a show like Money in the Bank that has year-long implications for the direction of the company, make it 4. Give those matches longer, let those stories build. And I also think one thing with the 3-hour pay-per-views is they should in theory make TV more valuable, but they don't. Because it kind of feels like the women's tag titles have been completely... It feels like they've not been on TV because there's not a pay-per-view spot for them. Which, if there's not a pay-per-view spot for them, make their TV time feel more important and more maximised. So I think there's definitely... I don't think every AEW show needs to push that 5, but they only run 5 or 6 a year, and I don't think every WWE show needs to like sneak over 3, because Raw's 3 hours. If Raw's 3 hours, your big pay-per-views should be longer than TV. That's just how I feel. And finally, let's talk about Cena. Second last question of the day comes from Average Latifi Fan over on Twitter, and he just asked, very simple, do I think Cena should win 17? 100% yes. 1,000% yes. 1,000,000% yes. Cena should win 17. If you saw my video yesterday, you see me gush about what John Cena means to me as a wrestling fan. Cena has been the main character of pro wrestling for as long as I've been a fan. And yeah, it's not always been great, but he's always been the measuring stick, and he's always adapted himself to float, and he's always done everything he can to be the best version of himself that he can be. And I think him tying Flair's reign was great, but yeah, now that he's gone, we need it. And it should be maybe not a 6-month reign, but I don't think he should lose it at the next pay-per-view like he did with 16. Personally, I have an opinion. I think it should be Punk at Money in the Bank, but Punk, if he's a world champion at Money in the Bank, will be the world heavyweight, and then that's weird because that's not really the belt we associate with Cena. But also, Cena's going to be on Raw, on Netflix, and the WWE titles on SmackDown. So I don't know. Personally, I do think yes, and I do think Punk at Money in the Bank should be who he wins it from and where he wins it. And who knows, maybe drop it to Randy, give Randy one last run with it too in a couple months or something. But I do think Cena should win 17. And finally, the last question of the day comes from a good friend Sam, who asks, does Cena put over a young talent on his way out, or can he win his last match? And if so, who does he put over? I don't know, because I think regardless if you get the match with Cena, you're put over in a sense. Now, I think if he is the world champ, if he wins 17 and he holds that up to the end of the year, then I don't think he should lose it, because it doesn't really... There's only going to be a few people who can do that, who can put Cena out on his back and take that title from him. So if he still has that championship towards the end of the year, I think he should just go out with a win, retire, vacate the title, and then we have a tournament where we build a new star. Like, I'm not saying that he should win it, but realistically, someone like a Dirty Dom Mysterio, or like a Chad Gable, or like a... I don't know. Who else is on Raw? Or like a Trick Williams if they call him up, or Mello if they move him over. Like, those guys aren't gonna beat Cena on his way out, but it then gives them a runway to have a shot with a big title and elevate them that way, because you don't want Cena's last match to be... You don't want it to have the Corbin-Kurt Angle effect. You don't want it to be someone that no one believes can beat him, and then he loses a match that, like, realistically shouldn't be losing because he's John Cena. I don't know how I feel about him losing on his way out. I do know who I want to see him wrestle, outside of the obvious, and like the Punks and Ortons and the Rhodes and stuff. I want to see him wrestle Jacob Fatu. Some of my favourite Cena matches are the Umaga matches, and you know, WWE tried to tell us that was Solo was the closest we've got to Umaga. It's not. It's so clearly Jacob Fatu. I want Cena to wrestle Jacob Fatu. I want Cena to wrestle Dom. I want Cena to wrestle Ray. I want Cena to wrestle Balor. I want Cena to wrestle Priest. I know I've just named the Judgment Day, but I don't want to see him wrestle that last person. You know I don't. I want to see him wrestle Montez Ford. I want to see him wrestle Dawkins. I want to see him wrestle Mello and Trick. And I want to see him go to NXT. And I want to see him maybe take on like a guy like Ethan Page. I want him to wrestle everyone. But who puts him out if it's not the obvious? I don't know that I have an answer for that. I would say gut feeling. My gut feeling on that, if there is a younger superstar who should beat him in his last match, Carmelo Hayes. I think if he doesn't have a title, then he should go out on his back. If he does have the title, I don't think he should. And if he doesn't have the title and he's going out on his back, I think it should be Carmelo Hayes. So that is all for the first ever Q&A here on the Jake Talks Wrestling channel. It's taken me 8 bloody years. Maybe I'll see you in 8 more years for another Q&A. How about that? But no, thank you guys so much for watching. Maybe I'll do more of these Q&As. Let me know if you want to see more of these Q&As in the comments. Maybe I'll make it like a weekly thing, like a monthly thing. Maybe I'll make it, I don't know. Who knows if I'll ever do one again. Either way, thank you so much for watching. If you left a question, thank you so much for leaving a question. And if you didn't leave a question, you want me to do another one of these, let me know. And then leave a question and make it fun and good and exciting, because all of these were very, very good questions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.